Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today let's discuss the Falconer, which has now been revealed, and hopefully you watched the premiere of the release for it on 𝐁𝐮𝐲 channel. We'll be watching that video again and reacting to it later, but first let's go over the Falconer reveal actual webpage. And before we start, I do want to let you guys know that the LE planner on Maxroll is now active with Warlock and Falconer things, so you can start theory crafting, so you can specialize through the passives and into, say, the Falconer skills and actually build the skill trees as you would like and do a full planner with it, which is really cool and will allow you to theory craft a little more hands-on and be able to see where you're putting your points. We'll dive into those in probably another video, but for now let's cover this article. The Falconer. Here's everything we can share with you regarding the new Falconer Mastery. We've consolidated all of the information into this one post so that you can do all the theory crafting and reading to your heart's content. What is the Falconer? So for those of you that don't know, you should know, but if you don't, the Rogue's third mastery. So if you're playing low class, we've been waiting for the Falconer for quite a while. The Falconer brings a new player style to last Epoch. She's a master tactician who employs deceptive traps and a fearsome bird of prey to gain the advantage against her enemies. And the Falconer will have 5 new skills. You have the Falcon with its active ability Falcon Strikes. You'll have Dive Bomb, Net, Explosive Trap, and Aerial Assault. And then here is the video. I'll play that video at the end of this video so that you can watch it. I'll also have a link for it in the description. We've already gone over the Falconer passive tree. We covered that because it was released last week, but we can really dive into the skills, and we've got 5 different clips here for some gameplay of them. So I'm going to go ahead and play all 5 of those so that you can see the Falcon and stuff in action, and I'll kind of talk through it for some of the points just to tell you what's going on in case you can't see it. So this is just the base Falconry doing his attacks. You'll see that he attacks pretty fast. There you have his active ability, the Falcon Knives, which cuts through the air and hits all the enemies in an area. Here you can see that you have the feather knives that he's throwing out. Here you can see that he has his Falcon Knives is actually going in a straight line instead of cutting many times, so he does a nice straight line attack for you.
Not happening.
And here the Falcon is throwing Acid Blast for you. And then up next, we have Explosive Trap. Just the base, you throw out 1 trap at a time. When enemies step on that trap, it then explodes. Here you can see that you're throwing out multiple traps, and you have a chance, after you've thrown a trap, for the trap after it explodes to lay another trap at nearby enemies, which is really cool. Here you can turn it into a bow attack and rain down traps from the sky. And here you've converted it to cold, and you can see that you have procs with detonating arrow, and it just gets absolutely insane. Then we have the Net. The Net's really cool because it can immobilize targets that you hit with it.
That was close.
This one's really cool that your net lays down caltrops on the ground. And then here you can see that the nets lay down traps, and then that they also have puncture being procced, which is really cool, so you don't have to do puncture at all yourself. And then we have aerial assault. This is a transversal skill. You actually move with the Falcon. The Falcon picks you up and carries you. Here you can see it being used with Umbral Blades and Shadow Daggers to apply even more Shadow Daggers. Here you have Featherstorm and a poison version of it, which is applying poison to enemies. Its Featherstorm can stay active 5 seconds by default and even longer if you build into duration. And then we have some more Caltrops, which can apply lots of bleeds as well. And then last but not least, we have Dive Bomb.
Not happening.
And Dive Bomb is where you get to call down your Falcon from the sky. It comes down, crashing the ground, and does that nice big AoE, and just annihilates enemies. Here, your Falcon, actually, the Dive Bomb also has Featherfall, so it actually throws down additional feathers from the sky. They deal a little bit smaller area, but they get a lot of extra hits in. Then, while wearing a melee spear, you can also leap with the Falcon. So you can leap, and Dive Bomb will target where you land, which is really cool. And here you can build it with shadows, and have all of your shadows have an additional Falcon Dive Bomb come down. So you can get in tons of hits, which is really cool. Sounds really awesome as well. And then, of course, we have all the skill trees form again in the planner. You can mess around with these if you want. We're not going to go over every individual node right now. And, of course, you can learn about Falconer leveling. We cover some Falconer builds, go over some of the details, cool ways to build each of the skills, and, of course, we'll be continuing to update you guys and have our guides updated on the 19th. So that you can be ready to go for the launch on February 21st. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and leave you with the 𝐶𝐿 trailer because it's really awesome.
In collaboration with Maxroll, I present the Falconer. The Falconer is the final mastery coming to last Epoch, making its way to Runeterra on February 21st for the launch of the game. This subclass focuses on your feathery friend, who's the main driving force behind your skills as a rogue. If you enjoy raining death from above, besting your enemies with a sword, bow, or talon, and swiftly maneuvering the battlefield, the Falconer brings a completely new twist to minion gameplay. In this video, we're going to show off the new skills and show off cool interactions from the Falconer. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the different archetypes that the Falconer offers, followed by showing off some builds that will have guides ready for launch. You might also notice some graphical improvements in this video, because there's a lot of upgrades for launch. Let's have a quick look at the skills you unlock exclusively as a Falconer. We'll be going over these and their respective skill trees, but if you want a deep dive and more to chew on, head on over to Maxroll, linked below to find out more. Keep in mind, these skills will unlock as you level. Your character automatically learns them after reaching certain thresholds in the Falconer passive tree. These skill showcases were provided by different Maxroll creators. You can find their Twitch channel on the screen during each skill showcase. I have not seen the Falconer at all, so this is also going to be my first look and my first impression to everything here. First, we're going to look at Falconry, the skill that actually enables the Falcon. Bina, take it away.
Alright, so this is the Falcon from the Falconry skill. As you can see, as you walk by you, he just passively auto-attacks everything. He is a minion, and he is invulnerable to any attacks, so you don't have to worry about his survivability or anything like this. He also has access to an active skill, which you can see him dashing his way here through the enemies and killing everything in its path. This is obviously on a cooldown, so you won't be able to spam it, but there are ways to reduce its cooldown and being able to spam it even more. So basically this is your Falcon friend, which is the main fantasy around the Falconer. To be able to use other skills, you also have to have the Falcon on your hotbar, as we'll see a little bit later, but this is the base ability of the Falcon.
So, Bina, are there any cool interactions that changes the skill a lot?
Yes, so your Falcon can actually use Acid Flask. So if you go to the left side of the tree here, you can actually see that there's Toxic Airdrop, and your Falcon now throws Acid Flask for you. Obviously, this consumes your a portion of your mana cost for Acid Flask. You can max this out so you can throw even more, and then you can even grant him a chance to gain charges when you use Acid Flask. So finally, guys, an Acid Flask buff, and your Falcon has the chance to use it.
Next up, we're going to look at Aerial Assault with McFluffin.
Hey, thanks, Diz. So Aerial Assault is a new movement ability, and one of the really cool things about it is it's not your character moving, it's actually your Falcon moving you. So as you go throughout the world and you use Aerial Assault, it'll actually pick you up and throw you in front of where you were, and it can actually throw you quite a long ways. And at the end of it, it will actually do a Feather Burst attack, so it'll do damage to enemies that are in front of you at the very end of the flight that you take, thanks to the bird.
And is there any like big things that we can change on the skill to make it have a different interaction?
Absolutely. So I am a huge fan of Shadow Daggers, and I play that probably more than anything else. And this actually gives us a new way to play a Shadow Dagger build. So if we go up here and we take Twilight Strike, we actually get access to Umbral Blades, which has the ability to throw out blades at the same time when the feathers are being thrown out. But those can apply Shadow Daggers. On top of that, Aerial Assault itself has a node that allows additional Shadow Daggers to be thrown out for even more damage. So this gives us a way to play another Shadow Dagger build that's now using the Falcon instead of the typical Blade Dancer. And it does a ton of damage, and you can see all the explosions going off here, and you can build Umbral Blades in different ways to make it spinning blades in front of it, and just allows for a ton of customization even in that small little bit of the skill tree.
Next up, we're going to do Dive Bomb with Boardman.
Yeah, thanks, Diz. Dive Bomb is the last skill that you get access to as the Falconer, and with it, it does a powerful AoE that does a single hit in a big area, allowing you to do great single target as well as clear out huge hordes of mobs that you can round up. One of the sweet things that you can get to do with the Falcon is it has great damage effectiveness, and you can also boost its damage by stacking a lot of your primary stat and by using bow attacks.
So how does this skill work? Do you target a location and it slams that location?
Yep, all you have to do is point your mouse where you want it to go, call it down, and it will fly from the sky, doing its huge damage in a big area.
Do you know what's the lowest you can get the cooldown to?
So the cooldown has a couple of interactions with other skills that actually replenish its cooldown and gives you cooldown recovery every time that you use like traps, for instance, and they explode. You can take off 4% of the remaining cooldown, so you can actually make it be reused really, really fast.
Wow. And is there any nodes on the skill tree we can take that changes this skill drastically as well?
Oh yes, it has a couple of synergies with other skills. For instance, if you go inside the skill tree, you can make it to you can target over here on the right side the decoy, and when you hit the decoy, you can make the decoy explode instantly when the Falcon blasts. So you actually have decoy, you can throw it out. Decoy will then call in all the enemies to target it, and then you can make it explode as soon as the enemies are close by with the dive bomb.
And next up, we're going to see Explosive Trap by 𝐁𝐿, because the Falconer actually has individual skills that don't rely on the Falcon as well.
This is actually the first skill you can get by splitting into Falconer tree. So you only need 5 points on the Falconer tree to get this skill. It's like a classic trapper playstyle. You can actually do any of the elements as a damage type with this. So you can do fire, cold, or lightning, or even all of those at once. So really cool, like a classic trapper playstyle.
So is that why the traps have different colors?
Yeah, exactly. So I have actually converted this, all of the elements at once. So cold, fire, and lightning. And that's actually the way you can maximize the amount of traps you have at once, pretty much. So basically maximizing the DPS.
Is there any way to make this skill interact with the Falcon?
Yeah, so it can actually give pretty massive amount of buffs on the Falcon itself. So basically you throw traps, and when they detonate, you get buffs on the Falcon.
So are there any big changes you can do in the skill to make the skill behave differently?
Yeah, so you can actually make this skill a bow skill with the blast drain node here. So you spec the bow skill here, and then you can also get detonating arrow procs on the skill. So you're gonna be like a fully bow playstyle if you do this.
Wow.
Yeah, so you have like massive range, massive AoE. You have procs going like everywhere. Amazing playstyle, at least in my opinion. Definitely the most fun I've had in
Am I
LD with
playing
bow
this?
skill.
Wow.
You can also do this without converting it to bow, but I mean, the bow just makes it so good, you know?
That's like explosive arrow on crack.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna start squirrel, but now I'm not 100% sure anymore. Holy. And the Falconer also has utility skills. So next up, we're gonna show up the net ability with Tarek.
Yeah, so Net is going to be a very powerful supporting skill in order to control monsters. It basically immobilizes regular enemies and is going to also reduce the movement speed of rares and bosses. And as you can see, it also makes your character leap backward whenever you use it.
Are there any different ways we can make this skill completely different?
There is one particular way that is very interesting at the bottom of the tree here. Basically, you're going to convert the net into a trap. And from that trap, it's going to use puncture. The interesting part about it is that you can actually use bow attacks with it. So it's actually like a range playstyle.
So are those caltrops that are falling down from the net?
This is also another part of the skill tree. Whenever you use net, is going to throw caltrops where you use the ability. And it's also going to use caltrops where you aim that. So it's kind of like leaving behind dot on the ground.
So now it's basically a clearing ability. As we've just learned, the Falconer offers loads of different playstyles. You don't have to just be a minion build, and you have loads of exclusive skills that you can't use otherwise, and cool interactions with other things. Next up, we're going to look at a build from Boardman, and this is something that'll have a max roll guide, and we'll have a separate video for this before launch, so make sure you check that out as well. Boardman, tell us a little bit about the build.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Ziz. This build's going to be using a lot of the Falconer abilities. We're going to have Aerial Assault, we're going to have Dive Bomb, we're going to have Smoke Bomb to buff us with our defense, Falcon Strikes, and then we'll be throwing some Trap. Every time that we use Aerial Assault, we'll leap forward. Our Falcon will have a nice Feather Storm that he puts out there. We'll have Dive Bomb to come down and absolutely destroy enemies for single target in a necessary area. And then when you really need, you can have Falcon Strikes go off, which is going to allow us to just have a bunch of attacks on a whole bunch of enemies in a small area. And then whenever you need to buff your Falcon, we can throw out traps. And every time a trap explodes, it's going to give penetration for our Falcon, allowing his damage to scale and get absolutely ridiculous. Due to Dive Bomb having really great damage, a lot of added damage effectiveness and scalars with it, single target is just as good as clearing, so you can go super fast if you just want to speedrun echoes, or if you want to take on bosses.
What's the tank on this build like?
It's very tanky. You even get to leech a portion of the damage that the Falcon is doing, and because it does so much damage, you can pretty much always count on a ton of leech coming in to keep you alive.
So Volka, show us more of the crazy bow build.
Yeah, so we're using Explosive Trap as the main skill here. So proccing tons of detonating arrows and icicles from the Rain of Winter Bow. Otherwise, it's a classic bow playstyle, so using shift for movement and smoke bomb and some of these utility skills like shurikens for tankiness.
For full clarity, the build we're showing here is actually a marksman. This specs into the Falconer tree to gain access to its skills and passive perks.
Overall, really like strong DPS build. It's really squishy though, so you need to be basically just killing enemies before they kill you. Basically, no defense. You don't really need any defense with this build, to be honest, because as you can see, the gameplay is just, well, kind of absurd with the AoE and range. Maybe you could, of course, build some tankiness, but that's kind of the thing with Marksman. It doesn't really have much options for like huge tankiness. You can get Glancing Blow and armor, but yeah, of course HP, but there's not that many options.
So can you walk me through all the skills you're using in the build and what they do?
Yeah, so Explosive Trap as a main skill, then that's gonna proc the Detonating Arrow, so we actually don't need to really use Detonating Arrow manually, so sometimes you need to use it for mana, basically just gaining mana on hit, and then Shift for movement, and Smoke Bomb for basically just some tankiness, some Crimson Shroud stacks, Glancing Blow, and then Decoy, you can use Decoy for basically taunting enemies.
And I guess this build just has single target and farming, like it's got it all except tank.
Yeah, exactly. It has everything except tanking. As you can see, let's pop this here. These enemies are usually pretty tanky. They basically die instantly.
So that marks the end of the Falconer showcase that we're bringing you here today. Make sure you go to Max Roll as well for a detailed breakdown. All in all, the class looks extremely promising, and it's certainly a very unique way to approach the Summoner and Combat Heavy Hybrid class that we've never really seen in an ARPG before in this way. And a huge thank you to all the Max Roll creators that helped show me this and make this an amazing video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video as much as I enjoyed making it. The Falconer comes out February 21st with the full release of Last Epoch. Hope to see you on Terra, and a big thank you to 11 Hour Games for making an amazing video game and letting us show off the Falconer. And as always, try to die less than I do.